missing link in the NSA scandal. That's what we'll talk about today. Snowden, the guy who revealed the whole NSA stuff, says that as an analyst, a junior analyst, he could listen into anybody's conversation that he wanted. And Obama says nobody's listening to any of your phone conversations. So the question is, how do you get from one to the other? And a few weeks ago, actually a few days ago, there was a release of a decision by the FISA court a few years ago, in which the FISA court said that these NSA agents cannot listen in to conversations between Americans. They can record that they happened and when they happened and where everybody was, but not the content of the conversation, unless they don't know if these people were in the United States or were abroad, in which case they are entitled to assume that one of the Americans was in fact abroad, and then under Section 702, they could listen into the contents of the conversation between the American in America and the other party who they can presume to be abroad. They also learned that if the analyst inadvertently, their phrase, listens in on a conversation between two Americans. Let's say he's not sure if there are two Americans or a foreigner, so he listens in for content, and then he learns they're in fact both in the United States, and he stops listening. He will have inadvertently picked up some information, possibly. The FISA court ruled that if that information falls into one of the following categories, he can use it, which means he can take action based on it, refer it to the FBI, to the IRS, to immigration, to anybody he wants, legally, without a search warrant, without having consulted the FISA court. And those are intelligence information, which is fine. Any criminal activity, a liquor store heist, a bank robbery, doesn't have to be national security. Potential harm to a person or property, that could be a demonstration by a dissident group or an anti-NSA group. It could be anything of that sort. Any communication that's encrypted of any sort, or anything related to cybersecurity. So this gives the NSA a huge expansion of power. It essentially repeals the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution. It says that an NSA junior analyst on his own, without a warrant from either a court or even the FISA court, can listen in on the conversation of two people, one of whom he is entitled to presume is abroad if he doesn't have any information to the contrary. And if he subsequently learns they're both in the U.S., he could still use the material he heard under the inadvertent rule. But basically can tap that phone, monitor the conversation, learn a crime is about to be committed, or a crime has been committed, or somebody's cheating on their taxes, or somebody's planning a drug raid or a drug shipment, or violating an EPA regulation, or violating any aspect of any law, or any harm to any person or any property, and can report that to a regulatory agency and they can treat it as a criminal matter. This essentially eliminates the need for a search warrant ever in anything. All the NSA analyst has to do is to say, I made a good faith effort to see if they're both Americans. There was no confirmation that they were, so I assumed that one of them was a foreigner, and I monitored and taped the conversation. And if I then found out he's an American, I got that material inadvertently. Holy cow, this is such an exception, a loophole in the Fourth Amendment. I was saying the other day, it's like Prohibition, the 18th Amendment, was repealed by the 21st. And this is essentially an extra-constitutional repeal of the Fourth Amendment. Who needs a warrant anymore for anything? Anyway, that's very scary.